Guys, what's up? Back at it. Pretty excited because besides having an awesome hair day today, I've got a little time out here in the garage and I'm thinking I'm gonna knock out a few projects. So here's what we're looking at, man. The engine needs to get put together the rest of the way. There's just been so much, did all kinds of work on the body to get it prepped, brakes, suspension stuff. Now I got to get this buttoned up. So to get there, I dug through all my parts and I have a whole pile of parts that need to be painted black, cleaned up, painted, and installed on the car, and to include my alternator bracket over there. But I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to knock that out. I'm going to dig out my starter, and then we'll just go ahead and permanently bolt those headers on. They're just mocked up. Headers, starter, alternator, and then this intake's just sitting on top of there. So I'd like to go ahead and put the gaskets in, put that thing in, and then, man, eventually do a little video on how to set the valves on this thing. Anyway, a lot of miscellaneous stuff to do today. So I'm going to get busy, doing a little cleanup, a little painting, and then start bolting some stuff on and make this thing ready to run. Okay, here's a little tip for you. This is kind of how I go about prepping stuff, like little parts like this to paint. Especially if they've been stored in my garage here for a while and they're kind of cool to the touch. The paint just won't stick to them very well. So this guy, Harbor Freight Special, time to break this guy out. If I get real impatient, I break the torch out. And I just hit it with a torch and clean it up and put some heat on it. Helps the paint stick better, helps it dry faster, all that good stuff. Okay, if you guys want to know my secret for cleaning stuff like this rust and nastiness off these things, it's the old wire wheel, but truly the secret lies with the drill. Impact Drill, which is that brand, purchased in Japan, Okinawa to be exact. So anyway, I don't need a hammer drill, but it works. Okay, while we're waiting for that paint to dry, I'm going to talk about a couple of the other projects I've been thinking about here with the old car. So the exhaust, you can see I'm running these lake style headers, and I got to looking and I have room if I wanted to. You build some exhaust that comes off of here, kind of under the car. It'd be pretty tough to get it to go over the axle. It's doable, maybe if I ran 2 1/4 pipe instead of 2 1/2. And anyway, that doesn't matter because I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is get some of the inserts, perhaps even build my own inserts that go in there. So I got to give a shout out to all the guys that helped out with that decision. I posted that on my Instagram account. If you guys are on Instagram, haven't checked that out, go check it out. It's pretty good. I try to put pictures about every day of the project that's going on. Anyway, I posted that question on there and a bunch of guys chimed in and said, hey, just use those inserts. They're pretty easy. They actually work pretty good. So I'm going to try that. Yeah, I'm going to plug those in there, but I'm going to worry about that another time. Right now, these are just mocked up on here, and so I'm going to unbolt them, pull some rags that I have in the exhaust ports out, and then bolt them on with the gaskets that came with those headers, and bolt them on permanently. One more product showcase here. I'll show you these guys right here, alloybolts.com. Out of Florida. If you haven't seen them, I picked these up off eBay. I think I paid like 30 bucks for a kit, and it came with all kinds of bolts. You can see here what I've got. Carb stud, intake manifold, oil pan, thermostat housing, header bolts. Even has distributor bolts. Anyway, I had a whole bunch of them, and I've used a bunch already in the build. I think it was the engine bolt kit that I picked up. So anyway, even though these headers came with these goofy bolts with the small head on them, I'll probably use the set that came with that kit or with the bolts. As long as I have the Allen head that'll fit in those, that's what I'll do. So, all right, I'm gonna get busy. I'm gonna put these headers on permanently, and then we can probably move on to the intake next. Okay guys, here's where we're at. My headers are bolted on. Obviously I pulled the intake off, and I had a cover on there, just some tape, cardboard and everything taped on there, sealing it up for the last year or so, honestly. It's off, it's cleaned up, it's ready to bolt this guy on the intake, as you can see. And I found some silicone, some gaskets, and it's ready to go. But what you guys can't do is you can't smell what's going on here, and I can smell an awesome dinner cooking in there that's just got finished up. So I'm gonna take a break, I'm gonna shut it down for now. Hopefully after dinner I can come back out here and glue that intake gasket on right up. See ya. Hey, all right guys, me and my hair are back from dinner. It was pretty good. I forgot where we left off, so here's where we are now. I got the intake cleaned up. I just pulled the carburetors off, and I'm ready to bolt it on. But there's a few things we got to check first. First thing is I'll look in here and make sure all my holes are lined up and that it's going to fit right. This intake's old. I mean, it's a vintage, old Offie tunnel ram. These heads are not stock. They are World Products Sportsman II heads, I believe that's what it is, yeah. And then, you know, stock 350 short blocks. So anyway, all this stuff, what it could add up to is a weird fitting intake perhaps, but this one's pretty good. It looks pretty tight, so we want to pay attention to this gap here, make sure it's nice and tight, and then make sure our bolt holes line up, and they do. Okay, so these are the gaskets I like to use. Felpro, they're good. They have this little ridge, I forget what it's called, on them, and there's no, you know, nothing tricky for the heat transfer port in the middle. Put a little bit of smear here, just a thin little bit on the back side, front side. Yeah, I'm not going to do it on the front, I'm just going to do it on the back to stick it to the head, and get it all situated there, make my beads front and back, and then we'll set the intake on. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so I actually got my tube of ultra black to work. Shoved a little poker down in there and shot the stuff everywhere. Too bad it wasn't on video. You guys would love that. But I got the back of my gasket set. One more thing you guys got to look out for is make sure the gaskets don't cover your intake ports. That'd kind of be a waste of having like good heads, good intake, and then have a gasket that covers it up. So dude's got to watch out for that. Okay, now I'm gonna try to be sanitary here, and I'm gonna do a nice. So, you remember when I told you how much I like those intake gaskets? Well, I don't anymore. That whole geometry thing, I think it got me. I don't know what's going on here, but a keen eye can see that the gasket part that's supposed to be sealing against the intake there, it is not. And look, I had such a good bead of silicone and everything. What a waste. It's gonna have to come back off. Because, yeah, man, my holes are lined up. Everything's lined up, but you can see even, that's why I have my light right there. I don't know if it's going to focus on that. You can see the intake port. That, my friends, is no good. Okay, so you guys want to see where that whole debacle went wrong. Remember how excited I was about these gaskets and how excited I was about the heads on this car. They're good heads. They have big intake ports, and these gaskets match it. However, this old school intake, not so much. I should have done this before I even laid them on the car. If you look here, you can see how close this is, and there's just not much room. Get a light here. Not much room behind there. And in fact, on the other side, there's a little chip in the corner of one of these, and you could actually see some daylight kind of like that through there with it sitting on the car. So these are just not the right gaskets for that. This intake. So luckily I went through my pile of old gaskets, or old gasket sets, and had this gasket in there. And if you look at this one, it matches these ports pretty much dead on. I don't like them as much because, let's swing over here. If we go to the car, easy, easy, come back. There you go. Here we are. If we lay them on the car, you can see bolt holes lined up. I'm going to be giving up a little bit here. They're not matched to these heads. There's a little bit of overlap on them. So, dilemma. Do I ditch the tunnel ram? Because that's the fact is the tunnel ram is just, it has a lot smaller ports than these heads. Do I ditch the tunnel ram? No. That's what this car's basically built around, is that big tunnel ram. It's gonna run on the car. I know I'm gonna give up some performance, but I'm gonna run these gaskets on here and they'll work. Okay, it's almost my bedtime, so I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna bolt this sucker on tonight. Hopefully this time we don't fail. Well, I guess today's lesson could have turned out a lot worse on those intake gaskets. These other set that I had stashed out in a box of gaskets worked out pretty good. A little disappointing that this intake is not as good as the heads, you know, as far as performance goes. The ports are just so much smaller than the heads, but they work. Gaskets I got on there tied all up, no leak, it shouldn't leak or anything. And the cool factor of how it looks is going to be just worth so much more. So I don't know, the wheels are turning now. Do I need to get a different intake? Different heads? different engine. Got my Nova with a 454 in it that I'm planning on building a small block for that car. Means there's a big block looking for a home. I don't know. I think I'll just go with it for now. Take the few horsepower loss that this does to me. Hope it makes up for it in cool factor. And just drive it. That's what it's all about, right? All right. This bad hombre is tired. All right, guys, I'm wrapping it up. Calling it a night, calling this a video. Check it out. Here's how we did, guys. So, got the fan, pulley, all bolted on, alternator brackets. If you want to go back a bunch of episodes, I'll put a little card up there, a link to click on it, where I built my custom alternator bracket so that it should all hide behind my grill shell. That's why it looks goofy here now. But I got it all painted and bolted on. There we go. Intake, headers, front accessories bolted on. I got to dig out my starter now. I think I got a chrome starter somewhere. I'm going to bolt that thing on. I got to figure out a dipstick for the engine. Yeah, it's good. We're getting there. Calling it a night. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching. Have a good night.